2 years ago, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu stood before Nigerians, promising them to defend the nation against all forms of criminality threatening the peace of the country.
According to him, the commander-in-chief also said that on top of his administration's agenda, security of lives and property was going to be a priority. And he also said that without adequate security, there cannot be justice or prosperity in the country. However, how well has he done in these promises in the last 2 years?
May 29 marks President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 2 years in office. On Crime Watch today, we'll be dissecting a very important topic. We'll be looking at Tinubu's scorecard in the last 2 years in the fight against insecurity. My name is Margaret Adewale. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Charles Agedo. In the studio with us today, we have a seasoned professional who is an expert in security, safety, conflict resolution, and crime management across both public and private sector. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll introduce our guest to you and we'll allow him to, do justice to this topic we are bringing to your viewership today.
I, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I will discharge my duties and perform my functions honestly, to the best of my ability and faithfully, in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the law.
In the studios today is Dr. Steve Okori, a seasoned security expert. Is here to dissect with us Tinubu's scorecard in the last 2 years in the fight against insecurity. You're welcome to the studios, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I think this is the second time we are having you here in our studios.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
So when we talk about insecurity, we know it covers areas like kidnapping, banditry, and terrorism. So looking at Tinubu's administration when it comes to insecurity, how will you rate this administration?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to come talk about the insecurity in Nigeria and to score Mr. President.
Yes.
In the last 2 years and all that. Yeah, let me start by saying that security is the absence of fear, absence of anxiety, and absence of being intimidated. And insecurity is the opposite. Where you have fear, there's anxiety, you are being intimidated by non-state actors or criminal elements, and all that. And when you begin to look at it, security, insecurity, you agree with me that we've been experiencing insecurity issues in Nigeria even before President Tinubu became president. But the beauty about this conversation for me is to see how far the current administration has gone in the fight against insecurity, the efforts they have made in combating some insecurity issues. Now, when you look at the Global Terrorism Index of 2024 that was released early this year, you discover that Nigeria was ranked 7th country when you talk about the rate of terrorism in Nigeria. Nigeria is ranked the 7th amongst 144 countries in that survey. And when you look at the Global Peace Index, Nigeria is ranked 144 country from a survey that was carried out amongst 163 countries. That goes to show that Nigeria is not a peaceful nation.
Mm.
That's the implication. When you are ranked 144 out of 163 countries in that survey, and when it has to do with the Global Terrorism Index, out of 144 countries, Nigeria is ranked number 7. And this is a global survey, right? So the implication of all this is that Nigeria is confronted with insecurity issues in the country. And it is no longer news. And you agree with me that even the last National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, the last report that they did, ransom paid by Nigerians was in the tune of 2.23 trillion naira.
Mm.
Nigerians paid ransom to kidnappers. Mm. So when you have all this information, you agree with me that the fight against insecurity under this current administration has not yielded the desired result. Mm. We have seen bandits kill innocent Nigerians that go about their lawful businesses. They go to communities, ravages communities, kill them, and they go scot-free. They are not arrested. We don't even know who carry out these acts of criminality of killing innocent Nigerians. We've been having inconsistent statements or comments coming from either governors or their spokesperson. We hear that some of them are alleged headsmen, some of them are even foreigners, and we cannot fight insecurity when we base our outcome or investigation on speculation. You know, so for me, detailed investigation was not carried out or has never been carried out in the last 2 years for us to truly know who these criminal elements are. Mm. When you go to Plateau, Benue, everywhere, people kill innocent people in their various communities, try to see how to grab land and all that. At the end of the day, we don't even know who these killers are, right? So a whole lot is not happening, you know. But by and large, we have to give kudos to the military and the police for the efforts that they are making. But the fact is, the efforts, for me, is not good enough.
Okay,
yeah.
Let me just take it up from you from there.
Yeah.
You were part of a security summit committee.
Yes.
On national security organized by the Federal House of Representatives around 2001.
2021.
2021 rather.
Yeah.
Okay, and one of the recommendations were like using local community approach to contain national security in the report that was, how well have that been implemented?
Now, unfortunately for us, we come from this part of the world that recommendations or policy agreements are not implemented. Unfortunately, I did a memorandum to that committee. The committee, under the speakership of Right Honorable Gwajabi Amila, when he was Speaker of the House of Reps, I made several recommendations on how crime can be tackled locally, because I am an advocate of local policing. I see that we don't have presence of our security agents in our rural communities where these crimes mostly happen, right? And that is why these criminal elements come. They carry out these deadly attacks or violent attacks on innocent Nigerians, and they go scot-free. No, they are not arrested. They keep giving us hope that perpetrators will be brought to book. Enough is enough, and we're not seeing those results, right? So now I've discovered that there's this gap, and the gap is that there is no presence of our conventional security agents in our rural communities. And the last NBS report also reported that most of these crimes happen in our rural communities. Mm-hmm. Now, is when you know the challenge or a problem, I don't think solutions should be an issue, right? So we have discovered that there's no security presence in our rural communities. And that is why I opted for solutions so that we can have presence of security in our rural communities. And at the end of the day, the report was submitted to the then President, President Muhammadu Buhari. And the report, I did not see the implementation of the report. The report, it has been kept somewhere in the shelf. I don't know where the shelf is, but it's there. And it takes us to the point where we begin to ask questions. Do we have the political will when it has to do with fighting insecurity in the country? Mm-hmm. This was a report that was presented by the former speaker, who happens to be the chief of staff to the president today. So if he made that effort to see, okay, let us see how we can contribute to the insecurity issues by trying to see that the insecurity issues are reduced drastically, and they were able to come up with such summit, and recommendations were made from different people, professionals, and experts. At the end of the day, the report was not implemented, and you are now chief of staff. I think that rather than even calling for another summit, which the National Assembly, that the Senate now is asking for another summit, that report, I think as chief of staff now, there's need for us to get that report and dust it and look at the recommendations there. Which one have we implemented? Which one have we not implemented? And we can take it up from there. But that one has been dropped somewhere. Taxpayers' money was used to finance such summit, and another taxpayers' money is being, or they are trying to use another taxpayers' money to finance another such security report. So how long should we or can we continue to organize security summit when implementation of the recommendations are not carried out?
Okay, you have worked in the National Assembly.
Yes.
Precisely the House of Representatives.
Yes.
As assistant on security and safety.
Yes.
Okay, do you think this recommendation by past committees here and there needs some form of legislative backing?
Yes. Well, it needs legislative backing. Otherwise, the way the executive are going, when you make these recommendations, or these recommendations come out from committees, it ends up on shelves, just the way I said. Even with the legislative backing itself, it's still very difficult for us, for the executive to implement. The National Assembly can only make recommendations, right, and submit to the executive. It's now left for the executive to implement the recommendations contained in the document that is submitted to them, right? So, in as much as they have tried their own best, it doesn't still mean that the National Assembly are not still culpable in the insecurities that we're experiencing in the country. Now, the National Assembly, beyond making up or coming up with recommendations at the committee level, they also have committees on Army, Defense, Navy, and Police Affairs, and also on Interior and the National Intelligence and National Security and Intelligence. These committees, what is their job? For me, their job number one, and which is constitutional, is for them to carry out oversight functions on our security agencies and institutions. How effective are they carrying out these oversight functions? That's the question. The essence of oversight functions, for me, is to expose corruption and to also expose inefficiency.
Absolutely.
Right? And also ineffectiveness of our security agencies, because whether we like it or not, we are not getting the desired result from our security agencies. For them now, as National Assembly members, they have the constitutional responsibility to carry out oversight function on the military, the police, and the other agencies of government. How effective are they? That's number one question, right? Are they truly oversighting these agencies of government? Because we see in this country where 7 police and military officers are billionaires while in service, and we have budgets year in, year out, and these monies, we don't know how they implement. Do they judiciously implement this budget, or they carry out this budget implementation and see that the rest gets into their personal or private accounts, right? So a whole lot is not adding up. And I think that there is need for the executive and the legislative arm of government to truly see that they are in tune and they are working in cordiality and in harmony, right? To see that a lot of insecurity issues are tackled in this country. It's not possible for us to have a perfect society. To establish an utopian society is very difficult, right? But what I expect the government and security agencies to do is that the rate of crime is drastically reduced. But the question here is, are the crime rates in this country reducing? The answer is no. Kidnapping for ransom is at its peak as I speak to you. I did my PhD thesis on kidnapping for ransom, and I know how far I went. I had interviews with kidnappers, I had interviews with victims of kidnapping for ransom and the likes. So when you ask me if the rate of kidnapping for ransom has reduced, I will tell you the answer is no. And I've said it times without number that for me, kidnapping has come to stay, because the motivation, when it has to do with kidnapping, it turns a penniless human being or individual into a multimillionaire, right? So I think that these criminal elements are just sitting down there. Armed robbery has reduced. Kidnapping for ransom has increased, because the risk when you go into robbery is more compared to when you are into kidnapping. Terrorists have left activities of terrorism in a way and have gone into kidnapping for ransom. They take these monies to see how to sustain themselves and to expand their network. Bandits are also gone into kidnapping. They collect this ransom to sustain themselves and to also expand their network. So what are we saying?
So, sir, talking about kidnapping here, this is 2025, and
Yes.
Recently some security personnel, a Navy officer,
Yes.
was kidnapped.
Yes.
and we're in 2025. So what do you think has been the obstacle to eradicating kidnapping in Nigeria?
A whole lot of obstacles. We have the key drivers of crime there, unemployment, poverty. You have not been, the government has not been able to eradicate all this. Nigerians cannot afford the basic survival needs. You have food, shelter, clothing. These are basic health. These are basic survival needs. They cannot afford it as a result of poverty or unemployment. Some of them are not even poor. Some of them were farmers or fishermen and the likes. And insecurity has caused them to lose their livelihood. They cannot access their farms, right? What they farm is to see how to sustain themselves as a family, and also to see how to go into sell their produce for commercial purpose so that they can make some money from it. Now they cannot access their farms. The ones that run the risk or take the risk will still go to their farms. Some of them are killed at some point. Some of them still take the risk of accessing or going to their farms. Now, the impact of that is that there's a high demand and there's low supply, right? When it has to do with farm produce. There's a community in Tivland that bandits went to kill about 40 of farmers and traders. And this very community, every day, about 100 trucks of yams come out of that community and goes to the up north and southeast and south-south. Now, this very farm, the activity has reduced drastically. There's no more economic activity there. They are scared of their lives, you know. So a whole lot is wrong. Now, how do you now begin to say how to address these issues when the dividends of democracy that is expected of government, they go campaign from one location to another, from one state to another, promising a whole lot. At the end of the day, these promises are not met. They don't keep to their promise, right? So when you don't keep to your promise, it's not a justification for Nigerians to go into crime because they are poor or they are unemployed and all that. But these are the reasons that they gave. So what effort is the government making or doing to see that they don't go into crime? The government needs to do a whole lot, because when you begin to look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 14(2)(b), which has become so popular and common, it says security of and welfare of the citizens is the primary responsibility of government. We are talking about security here, we are talking about welfare. We are not even started talking about the welfare. We are still talking about security, and the government is still not meeting up its responsibilities.
Okay, Doctor.
Yes.
You are an expert in security and strategic studies.
Absolutely.
As well, a professional diploma in industrial security and understanding body language.
Yes.
And you also have numerous certificates in security, safety, strategic leadership, and name it all. I can keep reeling it out here. Policy development obtained from both Nigeria Army Resource Center here in Nigeria and Resource Center Global Counterterrorism Institute in the United States of America. And you're also industrial security, ASIS, right? Defense Intelligence College, DIC. I can keep naming it, professional IIPS and the rest of it. Okay, so now, you also have you're also skilled in counter-terrorism measures.
Absolutely.
And national and local security safety management, criminal intelligence, threats and risk analysis, and anti-kidnapping strategies, etc. How well will you rate this present administration in the fight against insecurity?
Now, if you want to look at it, you have to look at it comparatively, right? And the way we look at kidnapping for ransom in rating the current administration is different from the way we look at it when it has to do with terrorism.
Yes, I want us to look at insecurity generally, because this encompasses kidnapping, terrorism, banditry, just name it.
Yes. I'm going to take it one after the other.
Okay, sir.
Right. Now, in the area of terrorism, from the time the current administration took over, terrorism was drastically reduced by the former president, President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, you agree with me that before Buhari came on board, Jonathan was there as president. But the major roads within the FCT were blocked. We weren't driving through some major security government establishment, organizations, and all that. We weren't driving through.
That's correct.
We must have to go and look for somewhere else to pass as a result of insecurity, basically terrorism, because we saw how far suicide bombings went. Even in the city center, like Abuja, where the president is housed, both office and residential. The criminal elements were daring government. They were daring security agencies. The police headquarters was bombed, UN, and a whole lot was happening within the FCT. Meanwhile, the epicenter of terrorism was the northeast region, that has Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe. Correct. They came all the way, bombing everywhere around when Jonathan was president. But when Buhari came on board, those roads that were blocked in the FCT, we started driving through them. It means that suicide bombing and terrorism insurgency reduced. The chief of army staff then and the chief of defense staff and the other service chiefs, they tried their best during the period that Buhari was president. Tinubu now came on board as president. We saw a resurgence. Bombing started. Now they have even taken the fight to start attacking military base. Yeah. In the last couple of hours or days, you saw that almost 4 military bases were attacked by these criminal elements. So what are we saying? Rather than the opposite, rather than the military taking this fight to the battle, as in confronting these criminal elements in their own domain, where they are hibernating, they are the ones taking this fight to the military. For me, I sympathize with the dead and the wounded, but it's an embarrassment. If you ask me, it's an embarrassment. These are criminal elements. They are daring the military that have the constitutional responsibility to protect you and I. We see them being attacked in this manner. Then wherein lies the confidence about our own security as citizens of this country? So something is missing. It could be sabotage, bad eggs in the system, sabotaging the efforts of the military and government, right? Giving information to these criminal elements on how to come attack them. How truly...
Yes, I was just going to take you on that. A few days ago, I said in one of our paper reviews that it's a slap on the fight against insecurity for the fight to be taken to the military base.
Absolutely.
But just last night, a news filtered in from Borno that Governor Zulum has alleged that military, there are people in the military and politicians and even some of the villagers serving as informants to these terrorists. Now, if you just oppose that with what we had during Jonathan's regime, there was an accusation that there were terrorist supporters or members in his cabinet.
Exactly.
Now, tie that to what you have just said. Are you, insinuating that it might be related to the sabotage that you just mentioned?
Absolutely. In every system, there are bad eggs. You don't know you cannot read the mind of an individual, especially when the person is within an organization. And that is why risk assessment and risk identification is very critical here. The impact or the effect of an insider threat to an organization is terrible because the person is within the organization. He knows all the strategies and tactics you guys are putting in place, to see how to confront these criminals. At the end of the day, he goes out to give out this information to these criminal elements. And that is why we are seeing these frequent attacks on the military, right? So there's a need for the military to purge the system, right? To truly fish out these insider threats, right? That are within the system. And I give it to the authority, military and the police. They don't, they go all out to see how to fish these bad elements out, And the challenge now is that when they go out to recruit, do they truly now carry out background checks? Before now, we know that when you want to join the army, there's this form that they give to you that you have to take it down to your local community where your clan head will attest to your good behavior, right? Do they still carry out that? Do they, after carrying out, if they still do they carry out vetting to be sure that the candidate truly took this form to his community? Sometimes they will just hang somewhere and somebody will just sign and stamp on it and come and submit and give you the impression that they have gone to their local community where their clan head is expected to sign. Do you carry out due diligence when you carry out this recruitment process or exercise? I've seen politicians send names of their constituents that they should be recruited into the army, right? You don't just welcome any name. You are an established institution that is expected to carry out due diligence. If a politician sends name of his constituents, it's for life now left for you to see how to carry out background checks, due diligence on these people before you let them come into the army. Because we have had rumors where Boko Haram members have come to join the army and all that, but the army authority have debunked all that. But the fact is, a Boko Haram member, don't forget that the war that we are fighting is an asymmetric warfare where your enemy is not known. So you don't expect the Boko Haram member to carry the inscription or sign on his head that is a Boko Haram member, right? So because of their training, professional training that they have embarked on, what is expected of them is that when you see a suspected terrorist, based on your training, you are expected to know. But are they even carrying out the training? You know, so a whole lot is wrong. So it has to do with terrorism. We are experiencing a resurgence under this administration. And that is why when you look at the Global Terrorism Index, Nigeria is ranked 7th. When it has to do with kidnapping, kidnapping has gone to its peak. Nigerians paid heavily for ransom. There is no need they don't kidnap Nigerians. And they have gone to the point of even asking for paltry sum of 50,000, 30,000 naira as ransom, and they collect. So kidnapping or ransom is on the rise. So that's why I said when we look at it comparatively, where we were before and where we are now, banditry activities, this government, not this current government, the previous government named this group bandits. Right? So it's not about the name. For me, all of them are criminal elements that need to be treated as criminals. We have the Terrorism Provision and Prevention Act. We keep amending this Terrorism Act. Why are we amending it? We're amending it to suit the times, right? We have a history of our insecurity, we have our experience of our insecurity, and we know we are aware of our current realities. And that is why we keep amending this Terrorism Act. And we are amending Terrorism Act as punishment for terrorists, kidnappers, and all that. And we are asking that some repentant ex-Boko Haram fighters should go to their communities. How did you categorize them to say, okay, they have repented? My firm did the research and we discovered that these ex-Boko Haram fighters that claim to have repented, they're also informants to Boko Haram members.
Okay, let's just hold a break there. Let's just hold, before you come in. We are just going to quickly take a short break and come back because this is a very sensitive matter. It's 2 years into this administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we have Dr. Steve Okori in the studio joining us to look at the scorecard of this administration when it comes to fighting insecurity in the country. And if you have just joined us, you have not missed much, but I think you have missed some part of it. But just stay tuned while we just take this breather. We'll come back and continue with our guest in the studio. Don't go away.
We're talking about South and the North. You talk about middle belt. Currently in Nigeria, we don't have middle belt. North Central is what we have. And they are included in the North. If the perception is because Nigeria is standing on a tripod, you have Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, they are the owners of Nigeria. That is a very wrong perception. These are major tribes in Nigeria. Simple.
Yeah.
Nigeria is owned by every single citizen of this country.
If you go to civilized nations, they possibly have, stratified their political parties such that those who play at the national level are there. And at the local level, you have other minor political parties playing there. And it gives sense of belonging to every citizen to be able to contest.
And in fact, once you have joined APC, all your sins are forgiven.
It's okay. It's okay. Up your mind. It's okay.
This is Third Eye Africa TV, exposing crime, savaging the nation.
Welcome back from that break. We are still here in the studios dissecting Tinubu's scorecard in the past 2 years in the fight against insecurity. And we still have Dr. Steve Okori in the studio. Sir, I want to ask, talking about strategy, security strategy, because I saw some works you did on security strategy. That's the content analysis of 2014 national security strategy and the 2019 national security strategy. So looking at this administration, what security strategy has President Bola Ahmed Tinubu employed to address insecurity? What strategy has he implemented to be able to address the issue of insecurity in Nigeria?
For me, I don't think he has done anything different. Yes, sincerely speaking, because I think that we are still doing the same thing. And you don't expect us to be doing the same thing, we expect a different result. We are not seeing a different result. We just analyzed it here where there's a resurgence of terrorism. We have seen that suicide bombings has come up now. During the period of former President Muhammadu Buhari, these attackers, these Boko Haram members, they were not going to the way and manner they are going attacking our military bases now. It wasn't like that then. So for me, no strategy has changed. And that is why we are still where we are. We are still where we are. Now, I try to criticize those national security strategy that you mentioned, that of 2014. A serious country, since the creation of this country, the first time we had a national security strategy was in 2014. Where were we all this while? And now we have a national security strategy. You need a national security policy to drive the national security strategy. But as we speak, we don't have the national security policy. And they have gone ahead to review the 2014 national security strategy in 2019 under the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. And still, we don't have the national security policy that should drive the national security strategy. So something is missing, and we're not interested in looking out for what is missing. You see, when we appear in forum like this and we make statements or comments as professionals, the government should not see us as being in a position of criticizing their administration. I think that when we talk like this, I want to believe that they are supposed to learn from some of these things that we say. Right? So they should not see us as critics. They just label everybody X because you are saying something that they think is against their will or wish.
Okay. Okay. Recently, the president was in Katsina State on a state visit, and he made a statement that they are going to come up with a strategy that is going to adopt technological approach in tackling the insecurity challenges that we have in the country, because he also admitted that it has become a trend in the country. And just after that, the Chief of Defense Staff attributed the recent attacks to foreign herdsmen. And he also, the Chief of Army Staff also said that they were going to smoke them out, that they are going to adopt new strategy. And the NSA also came up to say that they are putting new strategies in place. We are not asking them to tell us about this strategy, because when it comes to security issues, some things need to be kept discreet in order for you not to throw out your strategy in the public space. But I think one of the issues that you have raised in the past is the issue of involving local vigilante as an approach, and the issue of state police have also kept reoccurring in this conversation. What's your take in all of this?
Now, you see, when Nigerians, there's nothing wrong with giving Nigerians hope. When you keep giving us hope about our security and all that, it's a way to go. But how hopeful can we Nigerians continue to remain? Now, if you go to communities where killings have happened or occurred, they will not key into whatever you're coming to tell them now, because their hope has been dampened, right? They see their loved ones killed, buried in mass grave, and you want to come and give them this kind of statement or give them hope. For how long will you keep telling them all this? I think these messages have become very tiring to the ears of Nigerians. Enough of this talk. Let us see action. This thing is not rocket science. I've said here that our local communities don't have security presence. What is it as a government, as security agencies, that they need to do to see that our local communities have security presence? The police cannot do it alone. The military cannot do it. The DSS cannot do it alone. When there was this terrorist attack, Osama bin Laden in 2001 in America, the World Trade Center bombing and all that, there was nothing like the homeland security that we have currently in the US. The president of the US then, George W. Bush Jr., knew that they had Secret Service, FBI, CIA, and the other security agencies. But he said, no, let us have a security structure organization that their mandate is to see that what we have experienced does not happen again. And that was what gave birth to the Homeland Security.
So, state police or local vigilante, where do you start?
I was going to go there. We have the Nigeria Forest Security Service. I don't know if you're aware of them.
Yes, President Tinubu just made a pronouncement that they've also made a statement on that recently.
Yes, President Tinubu has approved the establishment of forest guards.
Yes.
Now, there's a conflict there. The conflict now is that we have the Nigerian Forest Security Service, that the bill establishing them passed first, second, and third reading at the Senate. The House of Rep also gave concurrence. That means they are in agreement that there should be a local security structure called or named Nigeria Forest Security Service, whose mandate is to provide security for our forested region. Criminals hibernate in our forests. They kidnap, take victims into this forest. They keep these victims in the forest for as long as they want to keep them. At the end of the day, either ransom is paid or not paid. Sometimes they kill these victims, harvest their organs, and sell to rituals and whoever they sell to. Now, you agree with me that the criminals have found our forests as safe haven, where they are there doing their thing. Now, the police does not go in there. The army or whatever does not go in there. Can we have a local structure whose mandate, their responsibility is to see that they comb these forests in all the communities that we find in this forest in, for them to be able to fish out these criminal elements?
Okay, let me just pause you. So now we've had videos of security agents coming to tell us that they have the capacity to smoke out these bandits from our forest. Yes. That they are only waiting for marching order from their superior.
Oh, no. When I hear marching order, what does that mean? Now, the service chiefs, they went through the process of screening at the National Assembly, precisely the Senate. And they were cleared by the Senate, sworn in by Mr. President. And you are still asking for marching orders?
No, they are subordinates.
Subordinate?
They're subordinate. The field workers. We've had videos of, foot soldiers in the forest telling us that they have capacity. Anti-terrorist police doing videos and telling us that they sometimes they know where these insurgents are hiding, but they just need a go-ahead from their commanders to smoke them out. It won't take them 1 or 2 days to do that. But sometimes they tell them, just hold it or just scare them away.
Yeah, I want to agree with you, because I also heard, I told you this morning before the program that I was in a vehicle this morning. This man is a military man. So he was saying something about them having, that's the military, having the upper hand over these people, that they need a marching, this is a military man. He said what they need is a marching order to be able to smoke out and fish out these people. So does it mean that the military here is capable of fighting these people?
Yes, our military are capable of fighting. The issues are not, they are
so because the minister just made that pronouncement a few weeks ago too, that we have more weaponry than the bandits, because there was an accusation that the bandits are more sophisticated. There was issue of drone, using drone, attacking military base and all of that, that it's like the bandits or the terrorists are now more organized or even more equipped in terms of weapons than our military and our police. So the Minister of Defense came up to say that, no, we have more weaponry than the terrorists. So now, taking the minister's statement and joining it with what I have said and what my colleague has rightly mentioned too, that we have evidence, we have video of security men telling us that they have the capacity, but sometimes they have restraining orders, so to speak, as to how far they can go in terms of smoking these guys out.
I wish the minister was sitting here. Then I would have asked him that if we have more sophisticated arms and ammunition, when we compare to the terrorists. How then the terrorists are winning the war in attacking a military bases?
Could that be the insiders Zulum talked about?
Yes.
The informant.
No, we know.
If you have a mole.
Yes.
So you might have more weapons, and I have a mole that is giving me information about how to attack you.
Yes.
So I take you off.
But do you know why I want to fault that? We are talking about an institution here.
Yeah.
I expect that alertness, both mentally and physical, should be there 100% because you are in a state of war. You don't lose your guards. If you have a mole that is divulging or giving information about your strategy and all that, you should also think outside the box that the possibility, that's why we need to change strategy, right? You must think outside the box. You must be innovative. You must be tactical. In the event, that's why we have simulation exercise. These simulation exercises are carried out before the actual event. You just assume that, right? In the event where we are attacked like this, what should be our response? What and all that.
Okay.
And that is why in an organization like that, you must think outside the box. In the event where there's an insider, a mole, giving out information, what is expected of you?
Yeah, that's where I'm heading to now.
Yes.
As we begin to try to wind up, we should begin to look at way forward now,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So in one of your posts, on daily posts in 2012, if I'm correct, or 2020, precisely August 12 in 2020, talking about the role of security agencies in internal security management and citizens cooperation.
Yeah.
So now, do you think our security men are overwhelmed by this group already? And if they are, what do you think is the way forward?
They are not expected to be overwhelmed, right? Because if you look at the total number of bandits in the country, they are no more than 30,000. And we have security agencies or agents that are way, way, way above that number. So they're not, I don't expect them to be overwhelmed. But from what we are seeing, it shows that they are overwhelmed because the criminal elements have this advantage ahead of our law enforcement agents. They are always ahead, while our agents, the security agencies, are coming behind, right? Because where they sit and plan, our security agents are not privileged to know. And I want to respond by giving you the crime triangle, where you have the desire or the ability, the reward, and the opportunity. When you're talking about the crime triangle now, the criminal-minded person has the desire, which of course he has nursed within him or her that I want to commit this. The security agent doesn't know that the man or the woman has nursed or has that desire to go and commit that crime, right? Now, the ability to commit that crime is already there because they can afford arms and ammunition, right? So it means that they are prepared to commit that crime, right? Now, two things, opportunity and reward. What the government and security agencies should not allow them have is the opportunity to commit this crime. The question now is, are we prepared as government and security agencies to see that they don't have the opportunity to commit the crime? The answer is no. They're always committing the crime. They have the opportunity to commit. It's after they commit that we begin to react.
So now we are not proactive, we are reactive. Is that what you're saying?
That's it.
So do you think government should also look at the area of financiers of these terrorists?
Why not? I know it's a huge complex endeavor to be able to identify financiers of terrorism,
yeah.
Right? Do you know why? Because when you have legitimate and illegitimate funds, how do you now establish an illegitimate fund? If I transfer money from my corporate account into somebody else's corporate account to go and finance terrorism, how will the NFIU and the FCC know that this money that I've wired from my account to another account is to go and finance terrorism? They are expected to know. Do you know why? Because they have undergone some professional trainings, right? So they need these funds, to be able to sustain themselves, to see how to recruit more people into their fold and all that. Don't forget that the Lakurawa terrorist group organization in Sokoto, Kebbi axis, were giving youths $1 million to join their fold, right? So a whole lot is wrong. And until we decide to do the right thing, are we doing the right thing in the fight against insecurity? The answer is no. We have allowed politics to cripple into security issues. Political patronage, when it has to do with fighting insecurity, the home ministers are politicians. They are not professionals with regards to security. As a security consultant, now you make me Minister of Attorney General, Minister of Justice. You think I can function I can't function because you have taken me to an unfamiliar terrain. The ministers that we have, Defense and Minister of State Defense, Police Affairs, Interior, you have taken them to an unfamiliar terrain. They are not professionals, right? So in the event where the military, the police are not doing well, what do you expect of them? They don't have anything to say because they are bereft of whatever it takes to see how to handle these security issues. So political patronage is out of it. The current administration has decided to appoint these people based on politics. They are thinking of the next election. When Nigerians are dying, are being killed like chicken. I expect that there should be a cabinet reshuffle in this second year as they go into the third year. KPI, how well have the governments called these ministers that are handling ministries that has to do with security? They need to score them. And if you want me to score them now, I'll tell you that they are below 50%. And that's not pass mark. Nigerians are killed like chicken. The constitution, primary responsibility of government, security and welfare, if you put it side by side with the insecurity issues in the country, how will you score them? There's no level environment for them to go about their lawful businesses. There's fear, there's anxiety everywhere. They are being intimidated.
So sorry, quickly before we go, talking about allocation for security.
Resources now?
Allocation for
in terms of resources?
Yes,
okay.
For security. In the 2025 budget, the allocation for security was 6.11 trillion naira, the highest in maybe in any administration. But we still see killings in is it Benue and Borno, yes, and Plateau State. Yes. So is it that this allocation for security is not enough, or it's not being appropriated to the right areas?
The money is, let me tell you, fighting insecurity anywhere in the world is not cheap. It's not a cheap venture at all. And Nigeria has the resources to combat insecurity issues. Now, I don't know the figure you mentioned.
6.11 trillion.
Is that what we have in the 2025 budget?
Yes.
Now, at the end of the day, or budget year, how many percent do we implement of that budget? That's the question. Then even the one that we implement, how judiciously do we use the resources? I said it here that it is in this country that I've seen where 7 military and police officers serve and they are billionaires at the end of the day. I've not seen a 7 military or police officer arrested or held by the EFCC when it has to do with corruption. I talked about oversight function. Oversight function, one of the reasons why oversight functions are carried out is to expose corruption. We're talking about corruption here. So a whole lot is wrong. Do we judiciously use this money for the purpose, or they divert these funds into their private pockets or accounts?
Dr. Steve Okori,
yes.
I must thank you sincerely, and I want to bring you back because after a while on this program, I would like to find a way to have you as a regular to continuously, because these issues I have noticed that we cannot exhaust in an episode. So, and in the last 1 hour or thereabout, we have been in the studio with Dr. Steve Okori to look at the performance of this administration in the area of fight against insecurity in the country. And he has joined us to check the scorecard of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu performance in the area of security. And if you have just missed this episode, you have missed a lot. But I can assure you that if you keep watching Third Eye Africa TV, we'll definitely bring it back to you again. And we must sincerely thank Dr. Steve Okori for finding out time to join us in the studio today to take a look at President Tinubu's performance in the area of security in the last 2 years of his administration.
Thank you.
We thank you sincerely for coming.
Thank you very much.
And to our viewers, we want to thank you for spending your time with us today on the program Crime Watch on Third Eye Africa TV. Please don't forget to join us same time and same station next time. Till then, we see you again.
My name is Margaret Adewale. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Charles Agedo.